Okay, guys, next up on the stage, as you can see, is Piedmont High School. Piedmont competes in 3A, Region 6. The region opponents are B.B. Comer, Glencoe, Weaver, Pleasant Valley, Randolph County, Sacs, and Llewellyn. Representing Piedmont High School today are head football coach Steve Smith, and his players are senior defensive end Bryson Ingram and senior defensive back Malachi Jackson. Coach Smith, we'll start today with your opening comment.
Well, first of all, I'd just like to thank Mr. Odell and the County Quarterback Club and anybody that had a part of this, of making this day happen. This is something that probably is long overdue in a county like Calhoun County with all the football tradition and schools here. I just think it's an awesome event, and I want to express my thank you for Piedmont and our community for you guys putting this on today. You know, get this time of the year, and you're talking late July, around the 1st of August, and everybody starts getting the juices flowing with football season just around the corner. And I couldn't think of a better way to kind of cap off our summer workouts. We have a passing camp at our place tomorrow that's kind of our last day of summer stuff, and then we take a week off before we actually start practice on the 5th. And but to be able to have a media days like this, to be able to talk a little bit about the upcoming season, I think is a great opportunity for not only us, but all the schools in the county. So thank y'all for having us.
You're welcome. Joe?
Steve, obviously you lost a lot from last year. Has it been, have you had a year where you had to replace this much, and what does that do to the outlook coming into this season?
It probably is the largest group of players that we lost due to graduation in my tenure at Piedmont, just to be honest. I think we have 2 returning starters on the offensive side and 4 on the defensive side. So, you know, there's a lot of opportunities for people to have a chance to step up and fill some roles. You know, I tell our kids all the time the expectations never change, though. It's just the next man up mentality. We've got, I think, 47, 48 on our roster, and I won't say 35 of those guys, 33, 35. I get my numbers confused sometimes, but our underclassmen, 9th and 10th graders. And, you know, from a coaching standpoint, going into year 26 as a head coach, you get different sources of motivation over the course of all the different years, and no 2 teams are exactly the same. And you know, I've been energized this summer with the energy that our guys have brought to workouts every day, and the youthful energy that a lot of those young guys have with the good senior leadership that we've got. And you know, I just tell the guys we're going to continue to work hard and put the best product on the field that we can.
Al?
Yeah, Steve, kind of a double emotional question. What's your feeling of going into the season with basically a new starting quarterback? Jack will be the guy. But on the other side of that, the good feeling to know that you're going to have that guy for the next 3 years straight without having to have a new guy like almost every year, every other week. It's kind of been the last little bit.
Yeah. Well, you know, each year has its own twist, and you know, Jack right now is the leader to assume that role at quarterback, and you know, he is going into 9th grade, but he's not a typical 9th grader. He has a lot of varsity experience under his belt. He played up with us last year as an 8th grader. He actually had a start game 5 against Jacksonville. Played in a tough environment there. He's been the starting catcher on our baseball team as a 7th grader and an 8th grader, and they played in some big moments. And so, you know, although youth is there, and he'll make some youthful mistakes, I get that. He's not a typical 9th grader as far as lacking with big game experience. It's always comforting to know that you got somebody back, got him back for more than 1 year, and you're right. He'll be the 4th quarterback in the last 4 years for us. But you know, we demand a lot out of our quarterback. I've been very fortunate the whole time I've been at Piedmont to have good quarterback play, and the expectations there will be much the same this year.
Jim?
Steve, almost any time you and I get together and talk about football and we get around to the region, you are always raving about how tough you think the region is, and obviously it is. Talk a little bit about how it maybe has even tightened up even more coming into this season. I know you expect more out of B.B. Comer and Glencoe as well, and they were in the bottom last year.
Well, you know, if you look over the last several years in Class 3A, I'm going to call us Region 5. I don't even know for 5 or 6 this year because they flip-flopped it, but it's the same general people. The state championship matchup every year since 2015 has been a team from our region versus a team from that region 1, I think, with Mobile Christian, T.R. Miller, and all those guys. In the north, the semifinal matchup the last 3 years has been us and a team from our region. So 2 teams from our region playing in round 4. And when you look at the region this year, you mentioned BB Comer and Glencoe. I talk about them. You know, most programs you'll see makes the most progress between year one, year two. Both of those programs are going into coaches that'll be in their second year. I continue to be amazed with what Jonathan Nix has done at Pleasant Valley. I think Pleasant Valley is a real playoff contender this year. Coach Smith and Welborn, they got every starter back. I don't know that I've ever heard of a team 1A through 7A that had every starter back. And they're expecting to have the best team at Welborn that they've had in many, many years. And then you've got a new coach at Weaver with tons of talented players. And then you've got Sachs and Randolph County, who Randolph County's been in the semifinals the last couple of years. Sachs was a 4A semifinalist team 2 years ago and probably had a team last year that had the ball bounced their way, could have probably been the champions in Class 3A. So there's not a break on the schedule in this region. Every game presents its own challenge. Every game presents its own dynamic that, you know, each time we go into a game this year within our region, there's going to be something that you can say that other team has as their rallying cry, other than the fact that we typically, you know, get everybody's best shot, because we got a little bit of a bullseye on our back. Not necessarily anything that we've done this year to deserve that, but because of our past success. So every week is a huge game in this region.
Joe?
To Bryson and Malachi, Coach talked about how the expectations never change from the time you come up to the lower levels. What is the expectation of Piedmont? What does that mean to you?
The expectation of me at Piedmont is to be holding up a blue map every year. Honestly, we've been taught that since we were young, because we're supposed to be up there. We're just supposed to be everybody's we're supposed to have the bullseye on our back. So we're just supposed to be always holding up a blue map at the end of the year every year, and we always expect that. We're not going to win the region. We're not trying to make the playoffs. We're always trying to make it back to Auburn and Alabama, one of those two.
You know, like Bronson said, you know, the goal every year, we just want to win a championship, and anything less than that, we ain't satisfied.
Yes, sir, front
Yeah,
row.
and to that point, you talk about next man up, Coach Smith. This is for Bryson and Malachi. Both you guys have been that next man up. Both you guys have stepped into big shoes. Both of you guys have performed at a high level. Now, as seniors, talk about your roles as leaders on the team.
I think it's our job to get the younger group, because there's a lot more we have a lot more younger freshmen and sophomore than we do juniors or seniors, and we feel it's our job to help coach them up and get them ready to step into the light one day, because there's not many of us, and they're gonna have to step up this year, and we're hoping that we can lead them to that.
Yeah, like we got a lot of young guys on our team, and we just hope that we can lead them to make big plays on the field.
And to follow up, Coach Smith, over the last 10 years, there's been no coach in 3A, much less 1A through 7A, who's had the record that you have, the win-loss record you have. Talk a little bit about your the things that make you, your teams, so successful.
Well, I really, you know, and it's not Coach Stock. We've had an unbelievable run of consistency over the last 10 years, and I attribute a lot of that, had very little staff turnover. A lot of these guys that are helping me this year have been there with me the entire time. Some of them, like Coach Walker, who does offensive line for us, he worked with me for 7 years at Cedar Bluff, and now he's going into year 8 at Piedmont. So a great group of dedicated and loyal assistant coaches is where it starts with in the office. And then tremendous support from our administration. Football, athletics in general is a big deal in the town of Piedmont. And just having the support from the administration, from the superintendent all the way down to the building principals, assistant principals, faculty, just the community in general. And lastly, but certainly the most important is a talented group of players, all of whom check their egos at the door and put the best interest of the team first and do whatever is required for the team to be successful. Over the course of those 10 years, we've had a lot of guys that probably would have been two-way standouts at other places. They bought into our philosophy of trying to play guys on one side of the ball. We've had kids that made All-State one year, come back their senior year and move positions for the betterment of the team. And in a day and time when the world tells everybody to do what's best for you and get what you can get, having those types of players and those loyal coaches and administrators and supportive community. They talk a lot about what Coach Smith has accomplished, but just to be honest with you, I would be nothing without all those other contributing parts.
Jim?
Yeah, Coach. Coach Smith earlier from Welborn talked about his son playing. You have a son that plays on your team as well. Can you talk about that dynamic a little bit and what it's like to coach your son?
It's different, that's for sure. And I've actually gonna have 2 on the team this year. I've got another one that's coming to his freshman year. And you know what we've tried to practice at our house was that ball stayed at the field house, and when we went home, it was dad and mom and the kids. And so trying to be able to separate those things and not let your personal feelings, because as dads, all of us in here in this room that are fortunate enough to be dads, we're probably harder on our own kids than anybody else. And so being able to let them know that at home I'm just dad, and at the field house, you know, they're treated like anybody else. And sometimes I might be a little tougher on them at the field house or whatever, and sometimes at home I might cut them a little bit more slack because there needs to be a balance there. But anyhow, it's a great opportunity. I feel blessed to be able to have done this long enough to get to see my kids come through, and I can't tell you how special it is to be able to share what you do for a living with your kids. And I try to tell people all the time, I mean, it's what I do, but it's not who I am. And I love this game, and I love everything about the game of football, but hopefully down the road, my players and my own kids will have a lot more to say about me as a person and how I treated them than wins and losses on the football field.
Al?
Steve, I ask something about tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Will the 7-on-7 this year be a different vibe or a different focus? Because because it's young, you got a new quarterback, will it be different this year than maybe some of the other years, what maybe you're looking for out of it?
Not really, you know, because we try to use it as a teaching time, and most of the teams that come up there, as football coaches, we get antsy as it gets closer to time. Every other sport has I used to say a complimentary season. Now it's almost like a competition. You know, you got baseball, but then you got fall baseball, and you got basketball, and you got AAU basketball. You know, football, we're still the purest form of it because there's not an off-season football league. We don't have an XFL or something for high school kids to play in. So 7-on-7 is about the only thing you can do that's kind of like football, but not it. And we try to keep the perspective on it, you know, because there'll be some teams tomorrow that throw the football around really, really well at our place. But any quarterback will tell you it's a lot different when you got 5 guys in front of you blocking and 3 guys that's 250 pounds plus coming at you trying to knock your head off, and you can't see good, and you having to throw it in between 2 people and having to slide to the left, slide to the right to be able to get a lane to throw it. So, you know, you take it for what it is. But as far as, you know, how we're going to approach it, we're just trying, like all the other teams that come, just trying to get better and use it as a stepping stone into the beginning of practice.
What are you gonna do during that, Bryson? DBs and wide receivers, what are you doing?
I'll be there supporting my team, cheering them on.
I've learned over the years the linemen like to stand on the sidelines and do some extra coaching when the skill guys come over, when somebody drops a ball or whatever. You know, I've heard a lot. I would call that. So it's always good to have those. It does make you feel good as a coach though when you look at your linemen are there supporting your 7-on-7 guys. And these guys, our linemen, for years, we went to a lineman camp, a 2-day lineman camp that's down in the Birmingham area, that they go down and work in the last week of June for 5 practice sessions over a 2-day window, and it's one of the best things that we've ever done with our linemen to get them some training during the summer, and it's all just part of the collective team effort. But it's a lot of fun tomorrow, and I know it's not a time to make an announcement, but all you guys are welcome to come tomorrow if you want to come up to our place and see. We got 16 groups up there, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Joe?
Back to Sean, obviously he broke through All-State last year, a year to develop. Kind of what are you expecting out of him this year?
Well, you know, again, I probably put a lot of unreal or unfair expectations on him, but the dad in me told him I was proud of him, but I told him he had a lot of work to do to get better, and you know, you can't just rest on your laurels and rest on your accomplishments from the past season, because, you know, Bryson was a second team All-State player last year, and you know, what they can do playing defensive end and how they can help set up our defense. And, you know, I gotta have that same level of play out of them this year. And if they just sit back and rest on what they've done in the past and say that's good enough, you know, people that's gonna be on the other side of the ball, they're working hard to get better. And so I always say there's not really any staying the same. You gotta continue to work if you wanna continue to improve and continue to do what you'd like to be able to do on the field. And it's more about, I think personally, I think it's more about never being satisfied and always realizing that you could do more, you could do better. Nobody's ever graded 100% in any of our games. And I always try to tell them I've never had a player play the perfect game. I certainly have never coached a perfect game. And it's always room to improve.
Gerhard?
I have a macro level question. You just talked about coaching, and it's going to touch on that. Yesterday at Talladega County Media Days, we were talking to Michael Leasley, who was the OC at Saks, and he's now at Mumford. He'll be calling plays in Mumford. We learned today that Jonathan Miller will be calling offensive plays at Saks. We've seen in the NFL with Sean McVay of the LA Rams calling plays and Gus Malzahn calling plays and on the college level. What is that like as a head coach trying to figure out the flow of the game and trying to figure out the intricacies of the offense, try to call plays at the same time, looking at the macro level from your perspective, because you've been doing it for a while?
Well, two things. I think there's two ways I answer that. Number one, it started out by default. My first 11 years as a head coach, I was at Cedar Bluff High School. And at that 1A level, you know, it was me and two other guys, me and three other guys on good years. And, you know, you had to take on more of a responsibility of being hands-on. Got to Piedmont, we got more assistant coaches, and we got great guys that know what they're doing. I never have felt like I could remove myself entirely from the game and just be a game manager. I've got coaching buddies that have done that, and they've hired coordinators on either side of the ball. I tried that one time in an all-star game where I was the head coach, and they told me I couldn't coach a position, I had to be the manager, and I hated it. Because I just felt like I wasn't doing anything. I felt like, you know, you just weren't, I'm hanging out with the kickers and stuff. And I didn't feel like I was getting to do anything. And you know, I told somebody, I said, I just don't ever see myself being in a position to where I'm not calling shots. My wife says that's control freak, but I just like being involved on that level. And these guys both are defensive stars. They'll tell you, I don't shun defense. I mean, we've got some really, really good, talented coaches on that side of the ball, and I'll give some input and make some suggestions and things of that nature and all, but, you know, I feel like I can bring the most to the table on the offensive side. The thing about the offensive side of the ball, you can kind of control the flow of the game. I was just talking with a couple guys out in the other room. You know, you go back and look at the days that I was at Cedar Bluff, we had some offenses that put up some unbelievable amounts of points. What you don't talk about, but I remember, is we had some defenses that allowed some unreal amounts of points too. And part of that was because I was putting the defense on the field, you know, 15, 16 possessions a game in high school. Well, go and look at our success at Piedmont. It's mainly been dictated on ball control offense, to where the games are about 8 or 9 possessions for each side. And if you only got it 8 or 9 times and you don't turn it over, you don't have a bad snap on a punt, you stop the other team 3 or 4 times, you got a pretty good chance to win.
Jim, you got a question?
Yeah, Coach, one more for you.
Yes, sir.
The new 40-second rule, how do you see that affecting the game?
I can't wait to see, you know, because we run our quarterback to the sideline every play, and I've had people tell me that's not going to work, and I think it can work to our advantage with some of these young athletic officials, the guys that want to get the ball and get it to the hash, get it spotted, and get it working, because you're still going to have 40 seconds. Some of the bigger, older, slower officials, it's probably going to hurt us a little bit, because you know, a lot of times when I'm talking, they walking the ball back to the hash or whatever. Now the way I understand it, when that previous down ends, that 40 seconds is going to start, whether they got it from the sideline to the hash. So I need to look at Arbiter every week, see the youth or lack thereof of the officials that we got coming, and know whether or not I'm gonna have more time to talk to the quarterback or less with, or that's the way it's been in the past. And like I said, that's gonna kind of balance it out now, because, you know, I'm just hoping that we can continue to do things the way that we've done it. we've played at places before, I'll put it this way, we played at places before that intentionally didn't have play clocks, and there's a reason they didn't have play clocks, and that ball gets spotted, and they'd have a 6 or 7 play drive, and they'd eat up 6 or 7 minutes off the clock, and you know how does that work? I've played strategically that way myself before, so if there's anything about the 40-second clock, I think it will balance it out. The age and athleticism of the officials won't factor into the flow of the game. So wow, that's a pretty wild answer, Jeff. Or Jim, excuse me.
You know, just to touch on what what Jim was talking about, you know, the past couple of years, the High School Association has tried some innovation with the game. Obviously, with replay last year. I mean, just talk about how the sport's evolving a little bit.
Well, be careful with what I say. Football's a trickle-down sport, and typically what you see happening in the NFL, in the college game, trickles itself eventually down the high school game. Some of them have been good changes, some of them not so good. You know, the big push right now, and I tell people all the time, if me and the people in this room want to see football for what we think it should be in the next 15 or 20 years, we got to be more proactive in just preserving what we got right now and not letting them take any more away. Because with the restrictions that have been placed, and people a lot smarter than me are advising on making these restrictions. You know, right now the general population feels like there's a direct correlation between CTE and football and concussions, because that's what the liberal media puts out there through their studies that have been unconfirmed, you know, all those things. And so you got a lot of backlash from people saying, I'm not gonna let my kid play tackle football because they believe what's reported. Whether it's factual or whether it's not, that's what they believe. And so we've seen that already come into play with the no two-a-days on back-to-back days. And if you do two-a-days, you can only do 1 day in pads, and you can't hit every other day during the first 2 weeks. And then once you get to game week, you got 120 minutes. All those things have been suggestions by the medical advisory board that has been adopted in the state. But we're never gonna go back to the way that it used to be. So you're not gonna get back anything that you've lost. I think the stance of football coaches now has to be, let's just preserve what we got. We don't want to get this thing to where you know, there's a lot of folks that think you ought to not play tackle football in middle school. That can't happen. There's a lot of folks that want to see you not have contact during the week and then expect kids to play full contact football on Friday night. Well, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but if you don't teach kids how to tackle and how to hit, somebody's gonna get hurt going out there on Friday night trying to play. And so, you know, I just think that with all the changes and all the things that's out there, we need to work very, very hard to preserve what we got, so that 20 years from now, if I get a chance to go watch my grandkids play, they're playing the game that we love and not playing some glorified version of flag football. Because that's the direction that a lot of people want you to go. And what we have to understand, it's a passion in Alabama. It's a passion in the South. They play football in Connecticut. They play on Saturday mornings. I ain't figured out yet what that is. But they get a vote on stuff nationwide, you know, and there's a lot of those nuts that don't appreciate it the way we do. So that's what I think the biggest thing is. You know, replay, whatever on replay. I'm not a fan. I think it takes away the human element. On one hand, we're out here begging people to be officials because we have an official shortage, and then we want to have replay to critique and scrutinize all the judgment calls that they make. Now they'll tell you I bark at them as much as anybody, but as far as having a respect for the job that the officials do, it's a thankless job. And to put replay out there to try to correct every little mistakes made, I mean, I'd love to have replay on some of my calls. I call some plays and won't know why in the world I called that. You know, that's making mistakes and getting over it's part of the game.
Anybody got another question? Coach Smith, thank you
Yes.
for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all being here with us.
Again, I appreciate y'all